What up, people? It's your boy, Master Trudy out here with another Final Space review. So I just got done watching Final Space, episode 5 of season 3. Had to give it a couple of minutes to sit within my mind before I could give this review because, man, this probably, unequivocally, without a doubt, is Final Space's best episode, bar none. This is already a 10 out of 10 episode. I give you that. And I give you that. Olan Rogers really outdid himself with this particular episode. And if you've heard him on Twitter, he made no illusions about it. He said this episode is going to get you, and it did. You know. Um, Quick summary of the video, just to let you know there will be spoilers. So you've been forewarned. But I will say this. So we all know the episode goes for them. They're escaping the Lord Commander. They get pulled in from light folding while trying to escape. And this black hole is Invictus pulling them in, trying to, of course, consume them. And, everybody's in bad shape. Ash's fingers are broken. Quinn is suffering. But as they're being pulled into this black hole, everybody begins feeling effects from it, of course, the gravitational pull. But it affects Quinn more so than any other person, of course, because of her final space poisoning. So she begins hallucinating about her past. And from there, we get to see her family. We get to see her mother. We get to see her younger sister, who is definitely taller than her. And we do hear that her father, um, while her father is not there, but it's assumed that he may have fallen in the line of duty. So, we get to hear about them. We get to see a lot of action from Little Kato and Avocado trying to basically, help and escape from the situation. But to get to specifically to Quinn, this episode really delves into why she was, or how she was, the way she was in season 1. She was a staunch supporter of the Infinity Guard. She believed in the Infinity Guard, and that's primarily due to the fact of her mother. Before that, what leads to that revelation is that, Quinn and her sister are in the ocean. They're doing some training, and they're trying to do deep sea dive training, pick up a beacon. And, Quinn fails to pick up her beacon. And she gets up, she sees her sister, and her sister's like, yeah, it's my turn. Of course, a storm is happening, and a storm is happening, and Quinn's like saying, "Hey, we gotta go. It's not safe." And they're saying, "No." Avery, which is her sister, saying, "We're not leaving until I beat you." So she throws down her beacon, and she goes in to get it. And as you know, she nearly drowns, and she survives. But Quinn feels like her older sister hates her, basically. And she gets pep talk from like a robot saying that, "Oh, maybe she looks after you," but she's summoned by her mother, and her mother's in the basement, which is the morgue. And she sees her sister's fine, but her mother brings her in, puts her actually inside of a morgue of deceased troops of Infinity Guard. And she basically says, "Look, all of all of these today you learned what it's like to have a life in your head, in your hands, and you almost lost that. That's a huge responsibility. You see all of these men right here, they're all under my command, basically. And I feel the burden of that command every single day. And I want you to look at these people and imagine imagine your father, imagine your sister, imagine yourself there. Never, ever let this happen at all. Never, ever let this happen. Don't do anything. Never let it get to that point. Meanwhile, the other person that's there is that Ash is the black hole is affecting her. She isn't because that's of Invictus, and Invictus is communicating with her head and everything like that, and it's feeding into doubts that her powers have come from Invictus, and she feels like now she's an embodiment of this evil entity, this evil force, and so she's kind of stressing out. You know, Avocado and the rest of them are trying to fix this, trying to siphon off energy so they can light fold out of there again, basically. And if I missed it from the last time, they escaped the Lord Commander life folding, but communications and navigation was shot, so they ended up life folding blind and were pulled out. Okay, now to get back into the main story, um, we see that you know after everything that's happened, Quinn is still hallucinating, and then we unfortunately get to see the she's hallucinating so bad that she's like about to leave the ship, basically, and you know when she's about to leave the ship, Avocado and Avocado basically succeed in their mission into, working the ship to, siphon off energy to Lightfold, basically, from that black hole. But, Quinn is already outside the ship. Um, Quinn is already outside the ship. We see that Gary asks Ash to say, "Hey, we got to save her. We got to do what we can. Please help me." And she's like, and Ash is like having self doubt, saying that my powers are evil. They come from Invictus, and he's like, "Say, don't worry. We can help me save Quinn, so we can save Fox, and we can do everything." So Ash gets her second win, and they go. But we see what happens that Quinn's sister was apparently lost in a battle a while back, a couple of years ago, and she's trying to say that, trying to keep her safe. But of course, her little sister Avery is still saying that, hey, I don't, you're not the boss of me. I've got to be better than you. And hey, you can get off your ivory tower and leave the real work to the soldiers. So it's clear that obviously Avery was her subordinate, and she tries to order her to stay, but she's like saying, but she disobeys that, and she goes to the battle, and much like Gary had to relive seeing his father blast off into space and see the explosion, we see Quinn had to relive basically losing her sister in what seems to be like consumed by fire. And while it's safe to say that hey, she might be gone, we don't know. And Quinn, in her hallucinations, wanders off the ship, falls off the ship. And, Gary's trying to say that before she does, she's like, say, hey, you don't have to forget her. If you die, her memory is lost. I want to hear about her. It's, Gary's really pulling at the heartstrings. But, she ends up falling. But Ash saves her and throws her back in the ship. And everybody else is on the ship. But Ash doesn't go back on the ship. No, she hears Invictus calling. And, Invictus just taunting her is basically saying that I have your brother, I freed him of his chains, and I can free you of your chains as well. And unfortunately, Ash decides to go after Invictus, much to the dismay of Lil Kato, who is devastated, saying that we can't keep leaving people behind. Why? So she's gone. But meanwhile, back in the ship, we see that Quinn comes back in. She removes her helmet, and we now see that the final space infection has now infected her fully, much like that being that Locado, Ash, Fox, and Avocado ran into, who was taken over. And it's a face worse than death, which is why Ash Mercy killed him. And Gary is devastated seeing this, and it ends with just the infection glowing as the scene fades to dark. So, once again, this was a great episode. I give this a 10 out of 10. This is Olan Rogers' best work, man. It's great. It's good. The characters were great. Gary really hit on the heartstrings, really hit emotionally, and all that type of stuff. It was good to see him, talk it out, use and try to bring Quinn back. His desperation that hey, I care for you, and I want to hear you don't have to punish yourself because of this. Delving into Quinn's backstory really, once again, was a great stroke of a genius by Olan. We really get to see what motivates her. We get to see why she is with the Infinity Guard, why she is devastated when the Infinity Guard in season one is compromised, because this is something that, the camaraderie, my mother, my father, my sister, all of these people, I've fought and bled and I died for the Infinity Guard. To betray her in season one is makes all the more sense when you see her backstory and the amount of guilt as well that she feels of losing her sister. And we can only wonder how bad Nightfall must have felt about her sister, about her sister and her universe as well, and that's good as well. The comedy was another very good shining spot, in spite all of the tense, action packed, really mind bending and mind racing, heart pumping action. Um, Kevin and Biscuit were delivered in very good doses. Like Kevin was, I was laughing at Kevin when there was so much happening, like the issues with gravity, Avocado lost, losing his eye, and everything like that. Kevin was funny, Biscuit was funny. Everything was good. Everything, it was just a well done episode. It was really good, and Owen Rogers should be that man. Once again, I'm hyping that man up. He knows how to write a great story. Of course, we only saw about a minute of Lord Commander. Of course, he's like mocking them and all that type of stuff. Gary's mom, basically was manning the ship. Nothing much to say, but she did what she had to do. But yeah, once again, this was a great episode, a fantastic episode. Well done. 10, 10, 10 out of 10, baby. And I am hyped for the next episode too, which may be just as heart racing. But if you haven't gotten to this show, I solidly recommend that you do get into this show. So, thank y'all for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notifications to make sure you're notified. Comment below to give me your opinions on what you think. Once again, I do these reviews for you, the people, because I want to discuss good shows like this and get your views on them. Thank y'all for watching, and I hope to have videos of other kinds as well as the next Final Space episode next week, of course. So, thank y'all for watching, and peace.